So, you increase your handstand push-ups, you're stuck at a certain rep, you don't know what else to do, you try holding it, doesn't work anymore, you try to balance it, try to do harder progressions, still doesn't work. I got you. Here are 2 things you can do to increase your reps or your handstand push-ups overall. Let's get started. But first, let me go and tell you one thing you need to do. One thing's for sure, you have to know a handstand. Preferably, I want to say that you will hold it for about 30 seconds or longer. The reason why you will hold it for that long is so you can get used to being upside down. Now, if you're going to hold it for 20 seconds or 25 seconds or 10 seconds, then I suggest you actually build up a little bit more strength for that relative skill, because when you're doing handstand push-ups and you're not really having a good hold time, it is going to be a little bit harder. So you might as well go and max out your hold time as much as possible, so that way this movement can be a little bit easier. Number 1, it's going to be elevated pike push-ups. The reason why I use this the most, I'm going to tell you the other second method, is that number 1 is that this is mostly relative, and actually we're trying to simulate as much as possible with the handstand push-ups. Now, in order for us to rep out more reps, on my decision on how I got more reps for handstand push-ups, you have to get it close or somewhat close to it to overbound your rep count. So let's say you're stuck at 4, you're stuck at 3, or you're stuck at 2, or maybe you're stuck at 5. What I would do, relatively speaking, is that I would do, say my count is 3 reps for handstand push-ups. What I do then is that I actually would do lower progression, which would be elevated pike push-ups. Now, the reason why I chose this exercise is because it has more range of motion than a normal pike push-up. When you do a normal pike push-up, it has no elevation, you're stuck and you're cut at a relatively range of motion. And the reason why that is, even if you are using parallettes for that particular reason too, is that you're still cutting from that really range of motion. So what I would do is that, one thing's for sure, is I will use the parallettes to get more depth in, and use the elevation for more range of motion to actually go deeper in on my pike push-ups. Before I get into head of it, what I mean by range of motion is that it's the full capability of the movement. So obviously, the elevated pike push-ups is not really the complete movement, but it's part of the movement, which is why we get more deeper in than from your hands, than using parallettes. We're using more range of that movement to get more deeper and get more activation of that muscle that you need. Just want to point that out there before I get to the second one. You can use is actually obviously chest to wall handstand hold. Now, this should be really, relatively speaking, obviously, because this is mostly the full range of the movement of actual handstand push-up. You're just using the wall as assistant. But the one thing you have to be mindful here is to not walk all the way up to the wall. What you want is that you want to have a certain degree. Now, I'm not really fond of my math, so I'll be honest with you, either it's a 45 degree or it's like you're looking like an arrow pointing down. So excuse me for my math, but I don't know my math at all. It's like horrible at it, but you want to keep a little bit of a leanness. Do not walk all the way up to the wall, because that is not an actual way of doing handstand push-ups, because what you're doing is now you're cutting yourself from actually going deeper in when we're doing from a freestanding. Now, before I get into my bonus tip, really, relatively speaking, you can really use back to wall handstand. It's just all up to you. The only reason why I would say that for this one, for chest to wall, is because it's more relative to that skill, and it really is close and actually simulating an actual handstand push-up. Now, you can actually use a back to wall handstand hold. Just be really mindful of your form. Like I said in that previous video that I did before, the reason why I like chest to wall handstand hold is because that you cannot break form. You can really easily break form with back to wall handstand. So be mindful about that. If you're going to use it, that's fine, but just realize this is the how you do this is opposite. So if you're going to use back to wall handstand, be as close as possible to the wall as possible, so you won't be breaking your back and you won't be having like a banana handstand. Because when you occur a bad habit, it's going to be going into your actual habit you're trying to get into. So be mindful about that, be careful, and make sure you record yourself just to make sure you're not breaking form, and go on from there.
Bonus tip.
Alright, so you use everything in your condition. You use the elevated pike push-ups, you use the wall handstand push-ups, you even did it as far as to the point where you're holding it and still is doing nothing. Well, I would suggest this only for people who can optimize it, because it is really hard, but use a weighted vest. You'll be really surprised about how easy it is and how more reps you can get in when you actually use a weighted vest. Because when you have more resistance, you get this placebo effect where you feel lighter. Now realize in calisthenics, the lighter you are, the better you are. So yes, I know indefinitely that this is gonna be a little bit harder, especially doing wall handstands with the weighted vest. As you can see, I can only rep out about 1 or 2 reps and I'm going down. But that's the whole thing, is that you're overloading. I am overloading this type of skill to actually get myself a little bit better at it. I'm not gonna lie to y'all, still gotta worry about form, still gotta worry about how really hard it's gonna be for me to do handstand push-ups against the wall. But let's go ahead and give it to the other first method. It's elevated pike push-ups. You're really gonna see a big difference, especially when your range of motion is going even deeper in with the weighted vest with the resistance. You're gonna see that when you build up that strength for that skill, you're gonna see, and I would guarantee you that it may not be 3-4 more reps, but it's gonna be an extra rep. That extra rep is what you need to keep going. Trust me, when you only are maxing out 5, you're able to get to 6. 6 becomes 7, and 7 becomes 8. 9 becomes 10, and then 10 becomes 11. You see what I'm trying to see here? You see what I'm trying to say, is that you're trying to build up more reps so you can actually max this out as much as possible. But that's what I got for y'all today. I'm going to cut it a little bit short for you, because I really want y'all to understand is that you should really add some weight to it if it's getting a little bit easier for you, and just see how harder it is going to be when you actually do that skill with these methods I'm using, with the elevated pike push-ups and then the wall handstand push-ups. But be mindful about it, keep doing what you gotta do, enjoy the process, enjoy every moment of it, and just take your time when you're doing these moves, because some of these moves can really hinder yourself. So be cautious and don't really hurt yourself. If it feels uncomfortable, let off a little bit and try a little progression. But that's it I got for y'all today. I'll see you next video. Peace out.